Hi, so the question is, what's the best way to compare for a client the benefit of paying points? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up real simple. Got a current liabilities here, 100,000, 7% interest rate. It calculates, of course, the EPR. The payment itself has the payment plus these additional expenses here for property taxes, HOI, rent, etc., or MI. And what I've done is I've just expanded the three programs on the scratch board. I've got a 30-year fixed at no cost that I've put here in the first one, a 30-year fixed with 1 point, and a 30-year fixed with 2 points. I've got a 30-year fixed for each because I want to compare the same product with just a different rate structure. Loan amount's 100,000. I put 6% in this one, 100,000 and 5.75 because there's 1 point being paid here, and 100,000 with 5.5% because I'm paying 2 points here. So in the scratch board, this is going to set up your loan structure, and then below we can see how that will all work out. So as I've come down below, I've put in points. There's 0 points here, 1% and 2%. I've got closing costs of $2,500 for each. So my net closing costs for this client are $2,500, $3,500, and $4,500. The net cash at closing will be negative $2,500, $3,500, and $4,500 unless I want to roll that into the loan amount. If I was going to roll that into the loan amount, I would simply increase the loan amount by the closing costs. I would increase this to 102,500, and in doing that I've rolled the closing costs in, and you'll notice that the closing costs are still $2,500, but I have $2,500 cash at closing, so my out-of-pocket is 0. This will allow me to compare either way. I would just tend to say compare apples to apples. If I was going to finance the closing costs in for one, I would do it for all three. I'd bump this to 103.5 and this to 104.5 because the software is going to calculate the difference in payment and tax reductions and everything throughout. But I'm just going to leave this as an out-of-pocket expense right here. We can go down here and look at the payment impact, and I can actually see here the difference in the net cost of borrowing, the difference in the net monthly payment. And you notice that I can toggle between pre-tax and after-tax. So if I'd like to just focus on the pre-tax payment impact, it's 69, 85, and 101. And in toggling this, all of the pre-tax and after-tax savings are going to toggle on and off. So this entire scenario is going to be a pre-tax scenario. If I click and adjust for taxes and do an after-tax scenario, this entire presentation below will be on an after-tax basis. But the question is, what should I do? Should I prepay or these points or not? And I can see the cash flow impact. If I spend that money out of pocket, I'm getting $47 a month in positive cash flow, 58 or 69. So the next question becomes, what's your time frame? And for this particular client, I'm just going to say that their time frame is 10 years. If I slide this over to 10 years, I can see first the equity difference in the three scenarios, comparing again to my current here. So my current, this is if I do nothing. If I go with this scenario, I'll have an equity of 2125 at the end of 10 years, 2691, 3270. So I'm getting more equity build up as we would expect. How about payment comparison? Well, over that 10-year period, I'm going to pay 87 versus 86 versus 85. So here's my payment difference right here. So if I want to just stop there, which I may want to do for simplification purposes, I would simply shrink up these lower two areas, and I would be able to say the difference is 5, 7, and 8. The savings is 53, 62, and 70.89. Now notice the opening balance of the negative cash flow has already been included, so we're taking the payment that they made for those closing costs out of their net equity, so it's being reflected here over this time period, and I can see that over 10 years I'm a little bit better off. I've got about a little less than $1,000 savings here, and right here about $800 savings. If I wanted to look for break even, I could go through and slide this across and see what is my actual break even on the closing costs. You'll notice that 4 years I'm better off not having paid those prepaids. It looks like it's about 6 years before it really makes sense for me. And if I go out, say, to the life of the loan, if I thought it was going to be a 30-year time period, it gets a little bit better. Not great, but better nonetheless.